And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Welcome to Open Connection. I'm your host, Robert Pictou. In an attempt to halt the spread of COVID-19 in BC, Provincial Health Officer Bonnie Henry has issued several public health orders restricting social interactions and business operations within the province. Many of these businesses substantially reopened, while some potentially closed permanently. On today's Open Connection, we meet Sandpiper owner Chris McCormick.
I was born in Chetwynd, BC, and then we moved here when I was a year old. So pretty much, I would say born and raised, although not born. But we rented a lot, and so what would happen is we would rent these homes that were up for sale, but they'd sat forever, right? And then we'd move into them, and my dad would fix them up because that's what he does. He putters, and then my mom would decorate them, and they would sell. So then we ended up like kind of jumping around. So I've lived in a lot of houses in Terrace, and I've gone to every school. Well, pretty much every school. I've been to Thornhill, E.T. Kenny, Uplands, which other ones? And then finally in grade 4 we kind of settled, and I went from grade 4 to grade 9 at Centennial, and then I did 10 at Skeena and 11, 12 at Cal. So I've kind of gotten all of them. I always just wanted to be a mom and a wife. That's all I wanted, right? And so that was I didn't even try in school. That was like my whole goal. I was just going to get married and have babies. So anyways, growing up in Terrace, pretty much my best friend is my now husband, right? Like he would ask me out every 6 months, and I'd say over my dead body, and and you know, we hung out, we had the Terrace life, we all did Mainers, we all went to the lake, we all so anyways, after school I left and I went to Vernon, and then when I came back, Ian, so my husband, we weren't together or anything, but he ended up moving to Prince George, and I was so mad at him because he didn't tell me. He left without telling me, right? And so my mom's going like, why are you mad? He's not your boyfriend. I'm like, because he didn't tell me, and he's not allowed to do that without telling me, right? And so anyways, that was just kind of that. And he came back and told me to go out with him, and I told him no, and then he said, go out with me, and I said, okay. So, and then it was just kind of, from there, it was kind of just, yeah, so that is kind of who I am, you know. My husband, we've been together-ish since we were 14, because I think that's when we met. So then after we started dating, my family moved to Airdrie, Alberta. And so we ended up, he came with us. I worked in a sawmill, and he was up back and forth at camp. He was a carpenter. And we got married in Airdrie, and then we moved to Vancouver, and then back here to Terrace, and then back to Alberta, where we had 3 of our kids. And then everything got really slow. He was working on the oil rigs and stuff, and it just, everything collapsed there. And he had more schooling to do with his carpentry and stuff. So then we came back here and actually moved into his family home. And yeah, it's just been here ever since. So that's kind of me. I just wanted to be a mom. That's all. Get married, be a mom. I had sort of, throughout this whole time, I had sort of dabbled with modeling, right? That was sort of where I had, you know, I just kind of, it was nothing serious, but just something I enjoyed doing, right? My 4th was not planned, right? So my youngest was getting ready to go to kindergarten, and I was kind of going, okay, finally I can be a person again. It's not just going to be laundry and, you know. And then we had a surprise, which was my youngest, and I was back to, you know, being pregnant and, you know, being a mom and that being my identity. And, you know, I mean, I love it, but it gets kind of depressing. And just before COVID had hit, I had kind of gone back. I had worked a little bit at, you know, Devinder and Claudia had let me come back and do some serving and stuff. But I was really kind of going, so I had kind of been serving, but I knew, like, I mean, I'm 40 years old. I didn't want to be a 40-year-old waitress. And I knew that, like, I had to work. I couldn't just kind of stay home forever. And I thought that Susie Homemaker was my calling, but no, no. So I was really looking for something. So I really needed to get healthy again and get back into shape. And so I thought, I'll apply for this modeling thing in Paris. So, you know, just fun, whatever, nothing's going to come of it. But I applied and I went through and I actually got it. So it was our 15-year anniversary.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Thanks for staying with us. Set your chin facing slightly down, don't hang or droop your head. Act like you have an invisible string attached to the top of your head holding you up. That's just some of the advice Chris learned when she was preparing for her first runway walk. But before we learn how it turned out, let's open our archives to this story from 1995.
5 years ago, Bruno Boulanger employed 3 people at the shop his mother had created back in 1979. By 1994, he had opened up 2 more shops in Terrace and a combined operation in Prince Rupert with 26 employees. Such rapid expansion created its share of anxieties.
About 3 years ago, there was, that bit of a worry where you're not used to it, and you just wake up in the middle of the night and you say, well, geez, I mean, you have to go to the bank and you have to borrow money and everything else like that, and it's a big challenge. It's a big risk, but I love challenges. I love risks, and if if you're not willing to take that chance, you'll never know if you'll be able to do it. And there's nothing worse than saying, well, I should have done this years ago. I prefer doing it now, and it's worked out extremely well.
So well that Profit magazine took notice. Its most recent issue listed its top 100 expanding businesses, then a group of 50 honorable mentions that it calls the next 50. And there among the mining companies and computer businesses sits Gemma's. Boulanger says his staff has a lot to do with his success.
When I hire a staff, I basically, first thing I say is treat the store as if it was your own. And it seems to be, and also to reward, we have a bonus system every month. We have quotas, we have goals, and the staff seem to enjoy that quite a bit.
This is actually the second big honor of the year for Boulanger. Back in January, he was one of 4 winners of the Gift and Tableware Association's Merit Award. But he says now is not the time to sit back and take bows.
They say once you start growing and you start expanding, you don't stop there. We've been approached by the landlord in Prince Rupert. The building that we're in has 2 extra floors. So we have access to another 4,000 square feet. Hopefully in a couple weeks we're going to be putting windows all around the top side. The ceilings are going to be 25-foot ceilings. We're going to have a balcony looking over 3rd Avenue. We're going to have probably a patio looking at the back. That's for Prince Rupert. Yesterday I met with the mall. We're looking at expanding here in the mall too.
In Terrace?
In Terrace. Our bass shop is about 1,500 square feet. And as you can see, we carry a lot of product, and it's really hard to display. So the mall has an extra 3,600 square feet that they said that we can have.
It was this like really cool thing. I was going to get to walk the runway and stuff like that. And so our plan had been that we were going to do that, and we had a girl live with us for Germany for a year. So we were going to go to Paris for a week, and then we were going to go to Germany, and then we were going to go to London. It was like our 15-year anniversary and my total bucket list, and that was right before COVID hit. So I was like, we're going, I don't care. We're going, I don't care. And then it was like, oh, Paris is closed. So that was kind of that. I just sort of let go of that. But I really wanted to do something with myself, and I'd really been praying, and I'd been like, God, you know, I'm not educated, right? I have 4 kids. I don't really want to go back to hardcore schooling, but I can't just do nothing. I'm like collecting pets, and you know, I need to have more for my life. So I was really praying, and like I kind of let go of the modeling thing. I'm getting old. It was just like, you know, that last bit of that dream, you know, and letting it go was great. But I'm like, I know that's not actually what I want to do. What do I do? I was just kind of, so I just kind of left it in his hands. And then I was randomly shopping one day in here, and everybody knows Bruno without knowing Bruno, right? So I'd never really talked to him or anything, but we had started talking, and he said, oh, and this was about the time when Fabricland was closing. So Terrace was getting kind of sad. Everything was closing up. There really isn't much here, you know, like I got teenagers and there's not a ton for them to do. And then Fabricland. And so then I was talking to him, and he said, I'm retiring. And I'm like, you can't retire. Like, Terrace can't lose Gemmas. And he's like, why don't you buy it? And I was like, ha, ha, ha. Hey. And my heart did like a little flip-flop, right? And he was saying that to everybody. It wasn't just me personally, right? So anyways, I ran home and I said to my husband, I'm like, you know, I just talked to Bruno and there's right? And I'm like, go talk to him now. And he's like, in his work clothes, he's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, go talk to him, you know? He's like, I don't know what even to talk to him about. I'm like, do it now. So he popped in here all awkward and, you know.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Welcome back to Open Connection. Just because you want to own a business does not mean you have to start from scratch. More and more entrepreneurs are skipping the startup phase, a time when most new enterprises fail, and buying an existing business. Let's return to the conversation with Chris McCormick.
It had turned out, though, that Bruno was sort of in talks with somebody else who was a little bit interested. So he said, like, you know, like I'm already in these talks with this other person who is interested, and we have to see where that goes. But if that doesn't pan out, like, I'll definitely get a hold of you, right? So that was sort of that for a bit, and kind of just left it alone, sort of waiting. And I was driving by here one day, and just randomly, I think I was bringing the kids to school or something, and randomly it was like, oh, there's my store. And it was like, what? Like one of those things that's just kind of odd and out of the blue, and then you go, weird, and then just go on with life, right? So yeah, so then it was always kind of like, oh, I wonder what's going on with that sort of idea. And then I was getting super like stressed and anxious and just me-ish about it. And I remember this was like, I think this would have been in September or October or something like that. And I thought, you know what, I'm just letting it go. You know, whatever, it's not meant to be, you know, like that very next day I get a text message from Bruno that says, hey, do you and Ian want to meet up for dinner? So I was like, okay. And yeah, so we met up for dinner, and it turns out that Ian's grandma was Bruno's first manager in the mall. So Ian's grandma and Gemma, who this is named after, were really, really close friends, right? And Bruno and Krista remember Ian as a little kid, you know, chasing bath bombs and being a little kid in the mall in Gemma's, right? So we just sort of hit it off, and it was, yeah. And we said to them, we're like, you know, we're a family of 4. We're not, you know, we don't even know how we could make this work, but if God opens the doors, we'll go through it, right? So it just, one thing after another fell in place, and everybody's been wonderful, and I think everybody feels the same. Nobody wanted to see Gemma's closed, right? Like really, it's been it's been part of our lives. If you were born, raised Terrace, you know, Bruno has been on the radio. You know, Christmas is Bruno in his vest giving out mauling spice, you know. So everybody's been really helpful, from like BDC to just everybody, family, friends, community. So yeah, it's been a lot of support. And it was funny because when I took over, this lady came in and she says, "So who's the new owner?" I'm like, "That would be me." She's like looked at me like I was like punking her or something. She's like, and then she looks at Bruno and he's like, "Yep, that's her." And she's like, "You must be a millionaire." I'm like, "Nope, just completely blessed," you know, like it's just, yeah, nothing that I would ever thought, you know, but I love it. I absolutely love it. I love shiny things. I love shopping. I love people. So yeah, it's what I could have never imagined without God setting it up, right? So I'm super blessed to be here, and that's kind of my story. I'm totally out of my league. I have no idea really what I'm doing, but Bruno's going to stay for a year, and he's going to teach me. And again, huge support. Like, there's been huge community support, family support, friend support, you know, support from my husband, my kids. My kids have been amazing. So yeah, that's kind of it. That's my story.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
With over 1.5 million seabirds nesting along the coast, Haida Gwaii is a birder's paradise. In this final segment of Open Connection, we discover why Chris decided to name her business after one species of bird found in Haida Gwaii.
I'm just going to go with, it's the cute, quirky little bird from Haida Gwaii, and I've always been endeared to them. So yeah, I don't know, they're cute, they're quirky, and we actually have a form of piper from the piper family in the area, but it's called a snipe, and snipe's boutique wouldn't sound right. So I know we don't have sandpipers like actually here, but close enough. So it's good enough. That's what I'm going with. So, it's just been a crazy experience. We didn't even find out that we had our funding until the 28th of last month, right? And yeah, the day of signing.
How was it? Yeah.
Yeah, well, everything had kind of, it was just such a of hair straight back and not knowing if it was going to happen. And yeah, that it just, by the time that it actually got signed, it was just kind of like, oh, those papers are here, sign them, and then keep going with all the other craziness, right? So yeah, nothing, no bells, no angels, no, you know, I don't know, just a day. Well, when we first started talking to Bruno, like that first meeting, he said, well, why don't you just come work for a year and see if you even like it? You know, like you really haven't done retail, and yeah, you might hate it. So let's kind of go from there first. So I actually came on for the first year-ish as just as an employee, right? Where they just thought I was employed. But then it started getting weird. Like he would say things or give me a responsibility, and you know, that they were kind of going like, so then we told them like, this is what we're trying to do, this is what we're looking into. And it was really great. Like, they're amazing. I love them. And they all said that they would stay, and they're like so helpful. They know what they're doing. They don't even need me, so that makes it easy, right? Like, that takes a lot of the stress and pressure of not really knowing what I'm doing off. So yeah, no. So the staff all stayed, all wonderful. It's really a set up, well-running business that I've just sort of stepped into, right? I know that a lot of people are nervous to bring their kids because it has been quite crowded, and you know, a lot of glass and stuff. So we really have tried to kind of open it up a little bit. I mean, we can only do so much, a little bit of a time, but really open it up. Yeah, just make it a little more spacious. I would like to bring in a little more kid stuff because I do have kids, and that's partly why I love Gemma's, right? Is because we would go to the mall, and when we were at the mall, Mom would let us go in and pick out some bath beads, and of course we would get that, don't break anything, don't, you know, like what every mom does when they come into Gemma's. But I just, honestly, I just want to keep passing that on. I love nostalgia, so I want parents to bring in their kids and to have fudge and to kind of start building those memories for the next generation. But really, that's just my dream for Gemma's, to kind of keep it sort of what it already was. Years, you know. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I'm excited to do, like, Bruno used to have a Christmas store, right? And I would love to have a big tree and a big Christmas store and like have that, whatever, that Macy's or Gimli's feel or whatnot. I mean, I would love to do that.
The artist is Jorg Young, better known as JJ. And Terrace area residents may have spotted him doing chainsaw carving at the Skeena Mall during Riverboat days. Not too long ago, he and his wife thought the wall facing Emerson Street would be perfect for a mural.
I talked to Bruno, the owner of Gemma's here, and came up with the idea because I was inspired by another artist who is doing big murals. When I saw him, I thought that's something I'd like to try too. And this is the first go in a full big scale for me, and I'm excited about it, you bet.
The project was funded through a facade grant from the city and the Terrace Downtown Improvement Association, which had received a $20,000 grant this past spring from the Northern Development Trust with matching funds from local businesses. Gemma's owner Bruno Belanger says he loved JJ's idea for a mural.
From the main design, we changed it just a little bit. You know, you had a beautiful landscape of mountains and trees and a brown bear and an eagle and all that. And then so after a discussion, I says, let's change that mountain into the Sleeping Beauty. Let's change our brown bear into a Coyote bear. You know, let's keep our eagles in there. And that's the masterpiece that he's creating right now.
We spoke to JJ on Thursday, and in just 2 days, he'd accomplished this much. But he says there's a lot more to do.
The detail is what takes the time. There will be lots of more hours to paint on this wall, because 560 square foot is quite a bit to cover, and without the help of Doug, for example, from West Point Rentals here, who gave us that beautiful lift and everything, I'd be on that for months, I guess.
Everything's changed, right? Like our whole world has changed. Everything's gone online. When you shop, everything. I didn't want to lose that place where you could come in, where you could touch, you could feel, you could smell. You know, it's one of those last places. And again, yeah, so it wasn't Terrace pride. It was like, I'm not ready for everything to go online and everything. Yeah, more pass it on to my kids. You can't lose that again, with my nostalgia and my wanting to be a 1950s housewife, you can't lose that, whatever it is. I don't even know what it is, but yeah, and you know, a lot of people are interested in the culture in this area, and you know, we've got Margaret here. Here. Is she allowed to come in? We've got Margaret here, and she actually teaches language at the Kitsim-Kalem School, and she's been educating me like all the questions I have to ask, because I'm born and raised here, right? But still, I don't know a lot about the First Nation culture, and so she's teaching me the crest, and a lot of people want to know that. A lot of people want to learn.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Open Connection. The greatest distance in the existence of man is not from here to there, but the connection from his mind to his heart. If we can conquer that distance, we can soar like an eagle and realize our immensity within. I'm Robert Pictou.